Susan McCormick is an award-winning writer and a recently retired doctor who lives in Seattle, currently residing for the moment in New York. She graduated from Smith College and George Washington University School of Medicine with additional medical training in D.C. and Frisco, where she lived in an apartment building much like the one in the Fog Ladies series. She served as a doctor in the U.S. Army for 9 years before moving to the Pacific Northwest and civilian practice. In addition to the Fog Lady cozy mysteries, she wrote Granny's Can't Remember Me, a lighthearted picture book about Alzheimer's disease and dementia, and The Antidote, a timely middle grade and up medical STEM fantasy. She's a dog person and sneaks her occasional member of her canine family into her books. You can find her online at susanmccormick.com. And let's take a look at her promotion for her latest.
I'm Susan McCormick. I'm a doctor and a writer. My cozy murder mystery series is called The Fog Ladies, and there are 3 books in this series so far. Today, we're going to talk about Book 3, The Fog Ladies in the Soup, and I'll have one of the characters, ornery Enid Carmichael, tell the story in her own words. My name is Enid Carmichael. I'm 81 years old now, if you can believe it, but that's just between you and me. My red hair and high heels add to my youthful appearance, so my age is not widely known. We Fog Ladies are spunky senior sleuths, plus one unspunky, overworked, and frankly under-suspicious young doctor, solving murders from our elegant apartment building in San Francisco. We're volunteering in a soup kitchen, and have we got a doozy of a murder, a celebrity chef boiled up in a gigantic, bigger-than-me cauldron that was ready to go for the California Big Pot Soup competition. We didn't even get to taste the soup. Humph. No one liked the guy, so there's no shortage of suspects. The police arrested the soup kitchen director, and I bet he's the one. But of course, the others think differently. So we're on the hunt, spending time at the soup kitchen where all the action is, chopping so many vegetables, even Francis Noonan's ergonomic knife doesn't help. There's the jilted wife. I know a little about that, so I understand her motives completely. There's an unhappy lover, a businessman with a long-ago grudge, and an unpredictable soup kitchen guest with a violent past. He bit off a man's ear. Heavens! Could be any one of them. I'm keeping my ears intact and open, and you know what sharp hearing I have. I overhear a lot, which is how I know about the connection to the dead man's past. And the blackmailer. Some call it snooping. I call it keeping us safe, because 2 of us were almost blown to smithereens in a gas explosion. So there. We are the Fog Ladies, and you can count on us like you can count on early morning San Francisco fog burning off by midday. You can count on us to solve the murder. Thank you to our Capital Crimes Sisters in Crime for having me.
That was probably the most perfect elevator pitch I've ever seen. And you did it so wonderfully, Susan, by sharing with us actually part of the story. Where did that story come from? Is she muted? I think you may be muted, Susan.
There?
Yeah, there you go.
You said in your introduction, when I did medical training in San Francisco, I lived in an apartment building just like the ones that the Fog Ladies lived in Pacific Heights. And people of all ages lived there. And I realized it would be the perfect place to hold a cozy murder mystery with all people enclosed in that small spot. And so I came up with my my group of ladies, the Fog Ladies, and put them in that building. And that's where the idea came from.
This is so different than medicine. Why the change?
So different than medicine. So I think probably like everybody here, when you're a writer, you are a writer. And from early days, I was going to be a writer, a ballerina, and a doctor. And I will never be a ballerina, but I am happy to say that 2 out of 3 is not terrible.
That's actually practically perfect in every way, as Mary Poppins would say. What is the secret behind writing such compelling characters? You're so good at this.
I was super interested in making my ladies a group of older ladies through my medical practice and I went to an all-women's college, Smith College, as you said. It's these bonds of women and bonds of women through time. My mom was in a retirement community and I got to visit her every day at the dining table and hear the old ladies chatter away. And I have always had a great admiration for older ladies. And the themes that come with older women characters are completely different than the themes of most cozies. We have grieving and loss. We have poor hearing and bad hips. We have parenting as a grandparent. We have children who want to move you out of the city, all kinds of themes that don't exist for younger characters, but also don't exist in a lot of stories. And so I was happy to give a voice to these strong ladies.
There is something that we can all identify with about the loss of independence that happens as you age. And that there's a little bit of that that's an undercurrent to this story, and you manage it so well. How is it possible to weave so many different themes and feelings into a compelling whole that makes people not only want to buy, but read more of your stuff?
So that's actually been a little bit of a problem as the books goes along. There are a lot of fog ladies, and each one has their own character arc in every story. And each one has to have a full character arc. And so there's a lot of themes, as you say, that get brought in. But just as an example for this book, in each book, because I'm a doctor and because one of the characters is a young doctor who the fog ladies take on as one of their own, each book has some medical practical advice. And so in the last book, Don't Cut a Bagel in Your Hand, because there's very important tendons there. That was a great piece of advice. In this book, one of the ladies has 2 car accidents in 2 weeks and realizes that 2 car accidents in 2 weeks is too many. And she makes the very hard decision to give up driving. And in the next book, which I've just finished writing, we'll see what disastrous results come out of that. But each lady does have to have her own arc, which does make a lot of themes intersect throughout the story.
Penny says that strong women don't become less strong as they age, but all characters do evolve. Tell us more about the evolution of these characters that you started to describe earlier.
Penny, I think that's so smart. And, my mom had Alzheimer's disease. I suspect many people have had Alzheimer's disease in their family. And even with Alzheimer's, my mom was exactly the same person. She lived right now in the present, no past, no future, but she was the same person. She was still an excellent speller. She was still sharp-witted. And the kernel of the person is always there, but as you say, some things do get exaggerated. And each character takes their own arc. And in this story, one of the ladies was a very holier than thou. There's only one way to do it, and it's the righteous way. And she has taken a complete turn of her entire life. And she would be the sort to run up ahead as they're traveling down the street and shoo the homeless people out of her way. But in this story, she actually is the one to bring them into the soup kitchen and to get them volunteering there. She has had a complete turn of her character, which is possible at any time in anybody's life.
It is said that the magic often comes through us and not from us. And I felt that in many passages of this book. Is that a sensation you got or you get as you write?
This is absolutely the number one reason that I love to write, is that first draft. I do 11 drafts and I hate every single one of them except that first draft. When you are writing and the magic just goes, and I have a rough outline, but I just let the magic go. And my fingers fly, and you never know what's going to happen. Like, for instance, in this book, as you mentioned, there's an important character who's a new introduction to the story. Every cozy, and mine included, have dogs and cats and baked goods, of course. But in this story, in the beginning of it, a little pile of black rags in the corner, as I'm writing away, turns into a little dog, a little puppy dog. And that puppy dog is a huge part of the story and one of my favorite parts of the story, and becomes an enormous part of the finish of the story. And that dog was nowhere in the outline. And that is absolutely the magic.